honored guests. This is a very, very special evening tonight. Our executive has made a commitment to mentor and to teach our members as much as possible this year. We want to make sure that all of our members are as successful as possible. Each week we work on meeting roles, and today we're going to do something different. Today we're working on our speeches, on our prepared formal speeches. Show of hands, how many here worried, anxious, or scared about giving a presentation? Yes, absolutely. And you know what? This is natural. This is human. I'm always scared before I give a presentation. So it's not you. We're all in the same boat. However, there is a flip side to this, and that's there is power in giving a presentation. There is an exhilaration about being up here. There is joy and wonder that when you finish a speech, how good you feel afterwards. Now, it's true that when you're up here, it is all you and only you, and that can be scary and that can be daunting. But all that reward also is 100% you. And I have to say, there is nothing that'll boost your confidence more than taking the plunge and standing up here and giving your first speech. Now, great speeches don't just magically happen. There's 3 ingredients. The first one is you need a good topic. And our very own Twyla will be taking you through an exercise on how to brainstorm some excellent ideas from your life that you can share with us. 2, now you have to write your speech. And our new member, Paul, who has just been tearing through the speeches, is going to show you a simple yet effective way to write your speech that you'll be able to use for 90% of the speeches that you need to do in Toastmasters, and will also help you with your delivery. And finally, you have to memorize your speech, number 3. And our very own Vesna will be taking us through her tried and true tips on how to memorize your speech. Come on in. Now, this isn't just us up here talking. After each presentation, after Twyla, you'll be sitting down, working with a mentor, and you will be actually working through. Because at the end of this, we're all going to get up and share our speech topics, our outline for our speech, and hopefully we'll have it memorized. And at the very end, we're going to be signing up some people for their very first Icebreaker later on tonight. So without further ado, I would like to invite up Twyla Tafel. Now, Twyla is a veteran Toastmaster. She has been with us for 10 years. And Twyla has an absolutely, seemingly inexhaustible stable of topic ideas. And she's going to share with us today how she's come up with some great ideas and how you can as well. Everyone, please help me welcome Twyla.
Your first speech in Toastmasters is called the Icebreaker. The Icebreaker is meant for members to share something about themselves and for the audience to make a connection with the speaker. Now, coming up with something to talk about in 4 to 6 minutes can be a very daunting task. You might think, how on earth am I going to choose something to talk about in 4 to 6 minutes? Well, before I go through some suggestions, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. 1, make it something that you are familiar about and that it's natural for you to talk about. Okay? Maybe it's a story that you've told many times and you'd like to try it out on a new audience. Great, go for it. The other thing to think about is your speech style. Are you someone who likes to tell stories around the dinner table? Maybe that's where you start. Think about storytelling. Or do you want to take it chronological? Tell us about your childhood and go through some memorable moments leading up to something special that happened as an adult. Are you going to be humorous and entertaining? Or is it going to be a little more serious and share with us something major or something that you had to overcome? So think about the style that that you want and maybe the message that you want to convey to the audience. Remember, the icebreaker is all about you, okay? And what you want to share with the audience. So if you are comfortable with the topic, it's going to be much more natural, much easier for you to give your speech. Now, what are some things that you can draw upon to talk about? As I mentioned, maybe some memorable moments from your childhood. Maybe something funny happened and you'd like the Toastmasters audience to hear about it. You might consider something about your family. Maybe there is an important person from your family who has inspired you to be who you are today. Great, talk about that person. Maybe you are somebody who likes to travel and you've had some interesting episodes or some unfortunate mishaps along the way. Tell us about those. Maybe you have a passion project. For those of you that were on our Zoom call last week, we talked about passion projects as our meeting theme. Tell us about something that you are really interested in, your hobbies. Maybe you play sports and you had a memorable game. Tell us about that. You could tell us about something that happened in your career to get you to where you are now. Perhaps you come from another country. Great, tell us about your journey from your home country to how you ended up here in Canada. Or maybe share with us something about your home culture. What's something special from there that you brought with you to Canada? Or maybe you're new here and trying to navigate the world of Canada and trying to figure out how you fit in. Maybe talk a little bit about that. And finally, maybe you just share with us something about pets or children or school. So lots of different things that you can think about when you are first starting to write your speech. Now, on your table, you are going to find a worksheet that has things about brainstorming speech topics. So we're going to take the next few minutes and come up with a list of topics that you could write your icebreaker about. Then in the next section, Paul will tell you how to narrow that down and actually write about that topic.
Now, we'd like to invite up Paul. He's moved to the other side of the room. Paul, as I mentioned, is a new member, but he's already on his level 3, and he's not even been with us for a year. It's just so impressive how many speeches that Paul has gone through. So we think he's the perfect candidate to take you through his speech writing process, and that we all come back to him. Take it away, Paul.
Every board member is terrified right now. My name is Paul Dixon. There's one word I've heard said over and over again, and that's the word of passion. So if you are going to write a speech, please do it with passion. That shouldn't be stressful. That should be something that you love. Okay? What I'm going to show you here is kind of more chronological, more sort of family, and of course more storytelling. The way I write a speech is myself is I try to take this mind, which is completely usually messed up, and I try to organize it. So I think back to, if I can say, an essay-style format. I have an introduction, which has got to draw you in, has to pull you in, and make you love my topic, not to sound too narcissistic, but to also love me. I'm being honest. You want to feel that. That would be the first thing I do. So that would be the past with this. I'm going to give an example of how I summed up something recently. I'm sorry I haven't memorized it yet, but as a child, I loved music the first time I heard it. My parents said I would run to the radio and dance and try to sing, and that I was horrible at singing, my father liked to remind me of. How much beauty is created in music? How much effect can you have when music on your ears, right? I have never also seen a band play or a person play individually. And at one point in time, videos came on, right? MTV. I got to actually see someone play an instrument, and I got some clarity come forward. But I fell in love with the guitar. And with the guitar, I've moved forward with fascination from childhood to where I am presently right now, still attempting to learn that beautiful instrument. Introduction. Don't know how you felt about it? Please think about it, criticize it, go through it, take it. It's all an individual thing, but it should have how I came to the decision of what I wanted to do and express my passion. I had 3 points, which are going to bring me from the past to the present of my speech. The first one is going back is to how to get a guitar, what guitar to play, electric, blues. Was I going to play blues music, country, Hip hop on guitar, I don't know. Slide, I ended up choosing, unfortunately, classical. Very hard to play. Okay? It is the most difficult to learn. I had to choose what I was going to do. Next, lessons and learning. So my next point to this is I had to learn as much as I possibly could about music. And I went about that by paying a lot in lessons and doing tons of practice. Over and over and over again, endless practice. My third point was the final thing of being able to take everything that I'd learned in life as a child, being able to play and perform in front of people. Exhausting and terrifying. I would have rather been singing, to be honest with you. Okay? There's the 3 points. And the conclusion for this is that all of my life has led to music. Music has become the very structure of my life, and everything I love about it is a challenge for me every single day and is reflective in my life. It also makes me feel like that child who first heard a song, learned it, and loved it. And I learned an instrument I still play on to this very day. Conclusion. Seem helpful? Okay, be honest.
Telling us how to memorize our little speeches that we will be sharing with each other at the end.
This is something that you don't want to do like I do, because I don't memorize my speeches. I like to talk. So that's one way I work, but it might not work for everybody else. On your tables, you got a sheet with top 10 tips on how to practice, or what to practice. And this is not just for your icebreaker. Use it for any speech that you do. So practicing will make your speech shine. It will make your speech much better than if you didn't practice. And for many speeches that I've done, I could have practiced a lot more. But I do, and my daughter always laughs at me, I do a lot of winging. So if I don't remember, I kind of memorize a few things, and then I just kind of go off on something. And
walk it off, sometimes you're over time too.
I was gonna just say that. So that's why I go over time, because I wing it and I go off the script. So that's not what you want to do. So that's one thing. Don't listen to me. Okay. So one thing that you can start practicing is start early. And I've seen, and I can see my mentee, she's already written a speech. I've been nagging her for a little while already to do her icebreaker. Life happens, we're busy, we get sick, we do this, we do that, we have projects, so you don't get that. Start early, practice. Now you have the skeleton of your speech. So you can start practicing. Yes, you can start practicing tonight. Guess what? You can start tonight. By practicing in advance, you get to get some feedback. You can correct things, you can adjust things, and you can work on those things that are maybe you're struggling with. One thing that I do is break it down. I have the worksheet that we have. We got the introduction, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and conclusion. So break it in paragraphs. Put a keynote. So what are you talking about in that paragraph? So let's say in your introduction, why am I talking about this? Put a keyword beside it, so you don't have to memorize each word. You can do same for each paragraph. So that's why, like, breaking it down. And when you're practicing, practice one paragraph. When you finish it, when you're like, you know it like this, go to next, and then put them together, and like that. So each paragraph on its own, and then add them to each other. That's how you break it down. Rehearse aloud. I don't know. I don't do that. I just find that so awkward. It's like talking to myself. That's stupid. But anyways,
All the time.
it works for some people. For me, okay, maybe I'm gonna wait last minute. minute I'm gonna do that.
You
I'm gonna-
evaluating your speech next time.
So practice aloud, or if you have, and I'm lucky that I have a daughter in the club, so I can practice with her, and she practices with me. So we can do this with each other. And another thing is practice with your mentor. Our members, new members especially, they have mentors in our club. Talk to your mentors, book an appointment, Zoom, or you can come early and stay later or something, and just practice. Do one run. My other mentee, Diane, we did it over Zoom a few times, and I was giving her pointers. Okay, so use your body language. Okay, so you're doing, okay, don't do this when you're speaking. If you're talking about doing a ballet, well, yeah, do the pose. So those are kind of tips that you're gonna get from your mentor. Another thing that Toastmaster International has, and that was just recently, they put in the tool called Udly, and it's like Zoom, but this thing gives you feedback. So you can record your speech and then ask for feedback, and this tool will give you, oh, you use too many crutch words, or fix this, or use your body language, or gestures, or smile more, or something like that. So they're gonna give you feedback, instant feedback. You know what, if you like technology, and I know somebody doesn't, you don't have to use that. But if you do, try it out. I know Diane tried it, and she sent it to me, she shared it with me, so it works. I can give her feedback, she gets a feedback from Udly, boom, she's practiced it a few times. So that's the recording yourself. Practice in front of your dad, that's a no-no for me. But for some people might. That's the same thing as talking aloud and speaking, doing your speech aloud, and just talking in front of a mirror. I don't do it, but it might work for you. Time yourself. Remember, the icebreaker is 4 to 6 minutes. So you don't want to talk about too many things in too many details. Put the points, and you have this, and you have the points already in there. And if you have some more details, I'll save it for the next speech. You can do another speech on a little more detail about that. So time yourself. We don't want to do overtime like I do usually. Get feedback. You can use your family if you're comfortable. You can use your mentors. You can use your anybody, co-worker, your friend. Practice in front of them. So just get some feedback. They'll give you maybe something that other person wouldn't. They'll see your crutch words. Maybe they'll see that you don't smile enough. Smile is a big thing in Toastmaster when you're doing a speech. Makes a big difference connecting with your audience. And based on your feedback, you fix your speech, you correct it, you shorten it, and you get the speech. After practicing, after feedback, you get it ready. And what's left? Schedule it with your VP Education and you present it. Easy enough, right? And if you haven't seen it, I posted a few little short videos on our social media that gives you a few tips on how to do these things. It's 30 seconds video. Check it out if you haven't already. You'll have the main points of whatever I just said. Okay, now we're gonna do a little practice run. And Madam Timer, how much time do we have left?
15 minutes.
15?
Yeah.
13, okay. You've written your speech, right? Some of you? And we're gonna have you practice this, just repeating yourself, like in your head. And we're gonna ask anybody who hasn't done an icebreaker yet, we're gonna ask them to come up here and tell us what they're gonna talk about in their introduction, point 1, point 2, point 3. You don't have to go into details, but we just want you to tell us your skeleton of your speech. Okay? So we have 13, 10. Oh, everybody has to do it? All right, okay, so, okay, my bad. Okay, but not everybody was picking the themes. And remember, those themes, topics that you were talking about, save them for the next speech. All right?
Okay.
Okay, so 10 minutes, 12 minutes now?
I'm with Toastmasters for 5 years, and I've always had the excuse, life is busy. I cannot get these things done. So this year, I had to prepare for 2 training sessions. I had to give 2 training sessions, 15 minutes each, a lot of work. How do you get this done? I want to share in my next speech 3 tips how you can accomplish this. Tip number 1, book time in advance. Mark it in your calendar. Wednesday, 5 p.m. I will work on my Toastmaster speech. How this helps you. Your brain starts working in the background. You're already generating ideas. Secondly, when the day comes, you're prepared. Even if you're tired, you know you have to put your energy. This is your hour. Tip number 2, strive for completion, not perfection. You can spend hours working on your PowerPoint and looking at this one picture that doesn't fit well. Instead of spending hours on one part of your presentation, get the whole, get the structure, and then later on you will see you're more productive to get the details. Tip number 3, practice the delivery out loud, please. Even though this is tip number 3, these things should start very early. When you're typing your speech, you should practice out loud, because it is one thing to have your speech written down, it is another thing to come and present. When you hear yourself, you can imagine how the people will get your ideas. Very important. So 3 tips. Book time in advance, strive for completion, practice your delivery very early in your presentation. Why is it important to do these things? Life is busy, but Toastmasters matters. And we are talking with Veronica and Eunice join us, how good you feel when you accomplish things, and you cannot this feeling by faking it. You gotta put the work. So my next speech will be get motivated and work on your goal.
Once upon a time, I was 8 years old, and once upon a time, I did not have to go to school. I did not have homework. All I had to do was eat, play, eat some more, and play some more. What time am I talking about? My summer vacation. So that would be my introduction. And for my first point, I would be talking about my grandma's village and how to get there. The second point, I would be talking about how it is nestled away from the main street and how we had to walk to get there, and how exciting and scary it is at the same time. And the third point that I would like to talk about is the ocean, because my grandma's house is just about 15 minutes walk from the ocean, and that was the best part about my summer vacation. And in conclusion, I would like to talk about why I chose this topic and what are the childhood memories that come up when I think about my summers at my grandma's village.
Canada, the unknown, uncertainties, and starting over. So my speech is going to be about our trip to Canada, how it all started, and all the things that we had to go through. Now, breaking them down into the different points. We're going to have the process. After the approval, the wait time, the numerous correspondences with different MPs, and eventually we got a passport request letter. And the passports were with immigration for forever. Now, I move to the next point, which will be the actual trip itself. How we decided to come to Calgary, how we landed in Calgary using, I think the vessel was KLM. And I think that's about the longest trip we've ever had as a family. Then I'll close it up with the current situation, integration, the learning experiences of everything that transpired, and I think that'll be about it for my icebreaker.
That we're talking about skeletons, because this is a skinny skeleton I have here, and it's going to need a whole lot of meat. Okay. But it is called, the title of the speech will be, or it's subject to change though, it might be From Corner Shop to Canada. That's what the title is going to be. And it's going to revolve around the fact that my life has had we've had quite a bit of transitions in my life growing up, so the introduction will revolve somewhere around that. The first point will have to do with the fact that my mom had a corner shop, and we grew up in the corner shop helping out, and it was full of a whole lot of love, and we loved meeting people and helping her out in the shop. The second point would have to do with our journeys while in Nigeria and how we met a lovely Canadian family in the 80s. And the third point would probably be something about how I wished I would be staring up at the stars, and how I wished I would be in Canada someday. And the conclusion will be how we got to Canada. I'll probably share a quote or something and wrap it up in some kind of way. Like I said, it'll probably change, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
A few of you, so I don't like to assume things, so I guess that you are all familiar with immigration, right? So that is gonna be my topic. And to break it in three things, like first, I wanna talk about what made my family make the decision to come here. All the chain of events. There's gonna be kidnapping involved, safety, like very interesting things that happened that led for me to make the decision to come here. Second is like, how did we make the decision? How long did it take us to come here? And why did we pick Canada of all the countries, right? The third one is, how did I feel when I came here? How everything changed, like how I was about even to go back, but I didn't have a choice. So I stayed here. And then the conclusion, I wanna end up like in a positive note, right? Like with the ups and downs, everything has been so worth it. And I never end up surprising myself on how wonderful people are here. And I always keep meeting wonderful people like you guys.
There you go.